that sweep that I predicted yesterday. That's the most important thing. Keep winning ball games. But the concern now is Buxton.
Right.
And he's having such a terrific year. This All-Star championship.
Well, and then also Joe Ryan. Not sure which player he's...
Hunter Brown.
Okay, for Houston.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think we all agree Joe Ryan deserved to get in without the injury replacement designations. So
Right.
This is a good thing for the Twins and for Joe.
Hopefully gets into the game. People are texting. You think for sure he'll get into the game?
I think these guys, they find a way to get... It's guys that pitch... Well, I shouldn't say that. He pitches Saturday. The game is Tuesday.
Right.
It's usually guys that pitch on like the Sunday prior or, yeah, maybe even the Saturday prior. That's, you know, they will hold off on.
I thought if you pitched on Sunday, you were not allowed to pitch in the All-Star.
That is true.
Yeah.
So maybe as obviously he's going Saturday, but see, Skeens is going Saturday too.
Now, see, people are telling us Skeens pitches against Ryan on Friday now. People are texting that in.
I thought
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, it is Friday now.
Yeah, I just pulled up.
I thought it was Saturday.
Well, maybe it was, but both clubs have changed their mind. I don't.
Well, if that's the case, then
I haven't
that's
seen the official word.
That's likely a better situation to pitch. Yeah, here it says we'll make his next start Friday instead of Saturday to allow the rest for the All-Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
likely what the Twins and Pirates are doing.
That gives him a much better chance than to throw on Tuesday.
Text news came in that said that Trevor Bauer's been named to the American League All-Star.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah.
He
Well,
certainly deserved it.
where I'm going with this is simply, there's always one or two guys that get left out in the All-Star game because of certain situations, like you want a lefty against a lefty, you know, that kind of, there's always someone who's left out. I just hope Joe Ryan isn't that guy.
Usually it's a guy that sometimes they even ask not, you know, if they don't need me. Sometimes it's the veteran guy who's been around for a while. Pitcher, if you don't need me to throw, you know, I'm just happy with the honor. That kind of thing could fall for Kershaw for the National League. He may just be there. Thanks for the recognition.
Right.
I don't need to throw. Let the younger guys go. So
Joe Ryan said when he was informed that he's been named to the American League All-Star team, he said, watching Byron Buxton participate in the home run derby is one of the things he's most looking forward to. So let's hope that all.
Next up, Savage.
Joe Ryan, 8-4 on the season with a 2.74 ERA. He's racked up 116 strikeouts. He deserves to be there. And then you get the Joe Ryan trade rumors on the same day. There's always going to be trade rumors, and of course, you know, like we discussed yesterday, the Twins are hovering on 500. Where at the end of this month is the trade deadline. What will be their approach to the trade deadline? If they are sellers, of course, there are competitive teams that would like to plug some talent away. The latest rumor is Joe Ryan being traded to the stinking Boston Red Sox.
I can't imagine they would do that just because he's such a main part of that rotation. How do you replace that next year? So you better be getting quite the haul for a guy like Joe Ryan.
Big surprise, the other team that's looking to snatch up everything they can at the trade deadline will be the New York Yankees, and they're being linked to the Twins closer, Joan Duran. Now that one I wouldn't have a problem with.
I think that's a lot more likely.
I do.
Griffin Jacks is there. You can mess around with closer by committee if you had to.
Right.
And Duran's got a lot of value. So
don't get me wrong. I like the guy. I like Duran, whatever the hell that is. He's very good at what he does. He has, like you said, he has a lot of value. I think this club needs one of those trades right now where you just get a big haul. You know, this club needs some kind of spark like that. And I think Duran would be the guy.
The only thing about getting a big haul, though, Nick, is if you're getting a haul of minor league guys that obviously have a lot of potential, those names aren't going to be necessarily recognizable, and they're likely not going to be jumping into your lineup, you know, at the major league level.
See, my perfect scenario trade, it wouldn't be loaded with minor leaguers. There'd be a couple of established players in there as well. That would make me happy.
I think the Twins, when you look at their roster, guys that make sense at a trade deadline are veteran guys like a Ty France, who would have some value for a team looking for like a Don Baylor kind of guy down the stretch. Harrison Bader falls into that category too. You know, even a guy like Jeffers.
Willie Castro has been fun.
Willie Castro for sure. I mean, he's got so much value because he can play so many different positions, and because Brooks Lee has popped onto the scene and looks like he's here to stay. You know, you can fiddle with that lineup a little bit too. I mean, Correa would be definitely part of that conversation, but he makes so much money and he's got trade clause.
Yeah, he already said he doesn't want to go anywhere because his kids love Minnesota.
Yeah, which is great.
Now, this is really fun, at least for me, to talk about. UPS Golden Valley Delivery Jesus just texted in, and I was going to ask about this because I thought I had heard it. Summers, for this year's Big League All-Star Game, they're going to let the players wear their own team uniforms as opposed to those obnoxious, stupid All-Star uniforms they've been coming up with the last few years. That's where you can't even determine what team the guy comes from. You can't even read the jersey numbers because they have to always come up with these stupid once-in-a-lifetime uniforms. This year, they're going back to letting the friggin' guys wear their regular uniform.
And that's the way it used to be when I was growing up.
Oh, that's the way it always was.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing about that is, you know, if you're used to one team's wearing blue and one team's wearing white, sometimes you don't know who's on what team because of that, but at least they represent their team with their official jerseys.
Yeah.
So.
My biggest problem when they were using these, you know, the special All-Star jerseys is there's a lot of guys in Major League Baseball, and a number of them that make the All-Star game, I'm not familiar with them. Yeah. So it would take me 20 minutes to figure out who the hell is pitching right now, as opposed to recognize, you see the uniform, you can put two and two together.
Right.
I hate the way they overdo all that stuff. It's nice, it's good news that they're going back to the... Now, what do you think of the automated ball strike system being used at the All-Star game? Because that's what they're going to do next week. You know, that stuff, the stuff we saw in spring training.
As a backup to the umpires, you mean?
Well, yeah. Strike system is...
That's fine. I mean, that's a good place to do it. It's an exhibition game. You don't necessarily count. Sure, I don't have a problem with that.
Trying to warm baseball fans up to what will likely be installed next season.
Yeah, it's coming.
Oh, I hate replay.
I know. Actually, in the NFL, though, it has proved to be extremely valuable. So it's just now getting to be a part of what we're used to.
So look for that in the All-Star game. Each team is given 2 challenges, and they can retain them if they are successful challenges. Only a pitcher, a catcher, or a hitter can ask for a challenge. And it has to happen almost immediately after a pitch, where a pitcher can say, hey, I don't know, you called that a ball? I think it's a strike.
Yeah, because you don't want them to be in the dugout looking at the pitch, you know, and then deciding on the challenge.
They say there's no help allowed from the dugout or any other players on the field. It's just the pitchers, the catchers, and the batters who can tap their helmet, and that tells the umpire they want to challenge the pitch.
That's the bone of contention with the NBA is that they have these video guys sitting in the second row of the coaches area that are give us the ball, work the ball, and
Right. It's a
you don't get a chance to
There's a lot of gray area. 41 replay in every sport. Those guys that sit in the front row, you know, the NBA coaching staff guys you were just describing, who have the video boards in their laps, and that's all they do is just wait. I don't know. They wait to see if there's something they need to review.
It's far down.
Kind of a fun gig.
Yeah, I would like
Longer
that.
is stressful.
Although they probably catch me watching the backup Terry video or something. You know, when I'm
You're scrolling this bump contest?
Yeah.
You gotta take that week off when it hosts that.
That's why there's not just one person doing it.
Yeah, the coach looks at you like there's three of them like that. I didn't sure. The coach looks at you, hey, was that a foul? And you quickly go to your board and you give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
I don't even think that you're waiting for the coach. I think you're almost reviewing every play that feels like it could be challenged.
Yeah. But they catch me watching the backup Terry video again. I watched it 3 or 4 times last weekend because it was 4th of July weekend. I had to watch the backup Terry video.
And he was all over the news.
He was in a parade.
They had a parade, yep.
And then somebody also sent, somebody made a very nice watercolor portrait of Terry.
And they made an action figure.
And an action figure.
Oh, see, someone sent me a picture of Terry from the backup Terry video, which we've been playing again here on this program. I thought that was, 10 years old. So recently he was like the grand party guy of a town parade.
Yeah, it was just this last 4th.
Well, that's wonderful. What do they call that again? The
Put it in reverse Terry parade.
yeah, but what do you call that guy? He's Grand Marshal. Grand Marshal. Yes. Of they had a put it in reverse Terry parade.
Yeah.
In his hometown.
Where was that?
Well, let's
See if I can find it.
We gotta call this guy, and we gotta get him at one of our events. We got a blues cruise coming up in September. Let's make it the backup Terry Blues Cruise.
Oh, who's in Memphis?
I would love that.
I want to be president so bad.
Yeah, me too. All right, Randy Shaver. Sticking with baseball. A little more baseball to talk with you here. I suppose it's the time of year for that, right?
Yeah.
ESPN has come up with their mid-season grades for all 30 Major League Baseball teams. They've graded each team's performance. The Great Tigers, they clubbed to receive an A+.
Yeah.
An A+.
Makes sense.
Other teams receiving A grades would be the Houston Astros at a smooth A. The Chicago Cubs, who I don't think much of, got an A-. The Toronto Blue Jays received an A-.
You have to put Toronto in there because they are not the favorite to win the East. Yet look where they are. They're 2.5 up on the Yankees. And, having a great year. Nice house back here.
I'm not going to cover everybody because it will make you crazy. But I'll just throw this in for the list of people the Milwaukee Brewers what the current was, you know, in 1956, Lake Will Smith like I was saying, these kids have real jobs from the time they're kids. And if the kid didn't get good grades, you know, so what? Because he's lucky. A lot of them are just going to go from high school to the farm.
Yeah, that was definitely the vibe I picked up on. And also, I mean, having a family and Irish, so there's like 8 of those kids. They probably didn't really care if a couple of them weren't doing good. Because my dad, I think he started working at 13, 14, something like that. All got major jobs.
Fast forward 30 years, everyone was talking about when you've got to get good grades, you've got to go to college. That wasn't the way it was back then, especially, you know, small farming communities. Well, hey, have fun in high school because they're going to work your nuts off as soon as they break that bell. So the 20 kind of B plus, here are the worst grades given.
You know, the B plus could have been so much better had they played well after the 13-game winning streak.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
If they had not given everything away after they kind of got themselves to ship, I think it would have been so much better. But
here are the worst grades given. The Cleveland Guardians got a D minus. The Athletics got a B minus.
they're playing terrible now.
The Fs were handed out to the Atlanta Braves, Baltimore Orioles, and Colorado Rockies.
Yep.
You got a big fat ass on you, Randy Shaver.
Yes, sir.
We were talking earlier.
Not really, though. It's flat. It's like...
Has it flattened out? Caused a little sag. And
Yeah.
since when we first met 30 years ago, you had an ass like a $2 bill.
I've been told, yes.
Just big and round. It looked heavy. Didn't it, Josh? It looked like heavy to carry around.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Josh wasn't paying attention.
Oh, I was thinking it was one of the decisions that was kind of pushed you over the edge and made us want to hire you. Now, we can't do that anymore these days, but yeah, that was a big part of it.
Well, appreciate that.
You got a big...
That's how you got the nickname the Ass Man, because it was
man.
perfect.
When you have a big ass, you usually get a nickname. And
Perfect
earlier,
hair, perfect butt.
we were joking around about Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners,
Yeah.
who has been given the nickname by his teammates of Big Dumper. And the Mariners were playing the Yankees the other day, and the Yankees broadcast team was having fun with the nickname Big Dumper.
They gave the nickname Big Dumper because he has a pretty large posterior. And he did not like it. His former teammate Jared Kelnick said he hated it. Hated it. I mean, just wait, it'll come around. Then they're making T-shirts about it, and it come around.
Look at the close-up.
I don't know if we need the guys.
He's getting uncomfortable with the
They had
That camera guy was going for
Yeah,
it.
he really was.
They were zooming in. They
Yeah.
had 4 different angles on Cal Raleigh's ass cheek.
I was kind of surprised they did that.
Dumper. Okay, the nicknames for Cal Raleigh: Big Dumper, Dumper, Dumpy, or Big Dumps. That's what his teammates call him. He didn't like it at first, but now they're making T-shirts in Seattle with his jersey number on the back, and it says Big Dumper. And they're selling like a sumbitch. He currently leads the big leagues in home runs at 36.
That's amazing. 36.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
With all the alternate feeds we have now for different games, you can watch these analysts or that analyst. Maybe there'll be one that's just the ass cam that just follows around Big Dumper all the way through the game.
You know, whenever anyone talks about an athlete with a big ass, there's one guy that comes to mind for me, and I've brought this up to our world-class entertainer friend C. Willie Miles before. I brought this up to C. Willie Miles because C. Willie Miles is friends with this guy. When I think of an athlete with a big ass, Ted Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Former Vikings running back Ted Brown. He'd always have a little bit of ass crack hanging out the back of his football pants because they just could not contain the thunder that Ted Brown was over.
Well, he had the big running back thighs to go
Yes.
the back end.
And I brought that up to C. Willie Miles, and C. Willie has said, yes, Ted does have a large You know, I don't watch much Jeopardy. You folks watch Jeopardy?
I love Jeopardy.
Every day you watch Jeopardy Day.
I tried to, not as much as I used to. Because I used to be religious, I had to watch it every day, but these days I still try to get it in each day.
What do you mean you had to?
Oh, I didn't mean I didn't particularly have to. I was that obsessed with it during the Trebek era.
The who?
Alex Trebek.
Oh, Trebek era, yeah. I don't watch it much, but when I do, I notice that the kind of folks who make it on that program usually don't do well with the sports questions.
Yeah, those are the ones that go viral, where it's a super obvious answer to anybody else. These guys are answering questions nobody knows, but the sports ones, they totally bomb.
And it's always so funny, too, because when you just see the isolated clip of them bombing a sports question, it usually just came after they ran the table on a thing about the periodic table of elements or something.
Science, astrology, the human body, but they can't answer, whose nickname was Magic. No, they can't. It's bizarre, but it's true. Do you have the audio of this Gone Jeopardy yesterday, Josh?
Yeah.
Let's see what Randy thinks of it.
This Yukon star had an intense spring in 2025, playing on her first national championship team and being picked first in the WNBA draft.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa, with Caitlin Clark? No.
David should There's a picture of
What? No way.
The picture of Paige?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love the guy's delivery, too.
Caitlin Clark. He's just like, all right, well, I know one female basketball player, so I'll give it a shot.
Well, at least he knew that.
Yeah.
At least he knew that.
The other two didn't even buzz in.
I've seen episodes of Jeopardy where they ask a basketball question and the contestant gets a hockey answer, but at least they got Caitlin Clark out of their mouth.
There's one a year or two ago where some guy completely butchered sports question, and Ken Jennings like, oh, I'm sorry, it's incorrect. He goes, I'm gonna go viral, aren't I?
Was that the guy from Minnesota? Because there was a guy from Minnesota that he butchered a sports
It might have been, yeah.
and completely dominated everything else.
Of course, he went viral for it.
Now, this is completely on the fly. Just for fun, I printed off a bunch of just general sports questions. Because we've got the time for this, Randy Shaver. Let's pretend you're on Jeopardy.
Oh God. Okay.
Because let's say you went on Jeopardy. Of course, you'd be a little nervous about questions on astrology and science.
I wouldn't buzz in.
But maybe what would make you the most nervous, being a sports fan, is to get a sports question, because you're probably sitting there praying for a sports question, right? But let's say you effed it up, like an easy one like that. Okay. That would be most embarrassing for you.
Yeah, but the fact
Just on the fly here, I printed off some sport questions. And let's pretend you're on Jeopardy, and I'll even try to ask them in the form of a question. I'll likely sound very rusty because I don't watch a lot of the show. How about this? Brady, relax.
I'm already stressed, yeah.
You got it.
This is the word they use when a bowler makes 3 strikes in a row. That's pretty good.